All right, today we're going to talk about Handsome Harry Gant, driver of the number 3 Skull Bandit. I guess I looked that up too long. It's one of my more favorite paint schemes is the Skull Bandit. It's basic. What I did on this car is I've done a two-tone paint job on it. I didn't even paint it white. The car, this car came white. But what I did, what I was pointing out right there on the bottom, those are actually white water slides that I just cut to put on the front skirt and side skirts, which matches the original Oldsmobile he drove back in the day. And I'm pretty happy with where I'm going with this. On the back spoiler there, or fin, I'm thinking about painting it black. That's the way it is, but kind of like the way that green turned out. But I don't know. I can always change it. And here we go, barking. So yeah, for the most part, this car is almost done since this video has been made. I completed the passenger side. Just a couple little touch-ups I need to do to break out the paint marker and do the roof lines and some of those items. So what I'm doing here, I got to see what I'm cutting. Okay, yeah, looks like I'm cutting out the rear skull decal. There's a panel. You can barely see, if it wasn't outlined in black on the letters, you can see how the white blends into the transparency of the water slide decals. I think I got these decals from Printed Now. Pretty sure I did. I ordered a few. I did finish up the Tabasco car. I think that was included in the last video, the Tabasco fiasco. Right here, I'm resizing it, making sure it's in line with the driver's side. Sometimes they'll have different little. The designers of the decals will put in different paint scheme. I have options, which is a nice touch. Here in a bit, I have a major mishap which kind of ticked me off, but I'll cover it when I get to it. I only had one front skirt Oldsmobile emblem that was supposed to go on there. It's a lot smaller with the fix I used to do it, and it rolled over on me, and I tried, and I ended up editing a lot of this video because I worked on it for about 30 minutes and the thing just wouldn't unroll no matter what I did. And that's frustrating. So today is April 1st, April Fool's Day. It's after work, obviously, and I started to watch the Artemis 2 live feed on NASA on YouTube. I guess it's set to take off in less than an hour, so I'm trying to get this knocked out. About a 20-minute video, but only really about 15 minutes of me. At the end, a little bit of information about Harry Gant. I'll put the link in the drop down if you want to watch the whole video. I remember Harry Gant back in the day before NASCAR got huge. So obviously we wet it up in our distilled water. See, this one rolled too. But I got lucky there. Get a little water, slap it on the side. Paint lines on this car turned out pretty well. I don't think I'm going to sell it. Like I said, I had seller remorse back there in Furlough. I sold a bunch of cars and sold them dirt cheap, and I wish I hadn't sold a couple of them. I need to redo my entire Ricky Bobby series. This is just a basic classic NASCAR / or maybe it was Winston Cup back in this day, but just a classic design. Real simple. Well, there's my Tabasco car. I didn't even notice in the background down there on the left. Swirling around. I don't know what's up next for me. I got a couple more Tabasco cars, but work issues going on, and I've got, like I said, I got to have surgery at the end of this month, so my heart's not been in it the last couple of weeks. We do have a weather watch in the area right now. They're talking about hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds and severe thunderstorms till 8 p.m. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully the power doesn't go out. I'm a big NASA fan. I was born in '69, a few months before Armstrong and Aldrin walked on the moon. And, so years later, near the end of the manned missions to the moon, I do remember bits and pieces of it when I was a small child. Applied for a job at NASA out here in West Virginia and didn't get it. Which I'm kind of glad now because I've gotten older and it would have doubled my commute. My commute's already 90-mile round trip, so 180 miles, in a day is just a bit much. Would have been cool to say, where do you work? NASA. We can't all be heroes. Yeah, they're doing a reorg in our organization. A lot of question marks right now, and I'm stressing over it. So I've got not too many years, and I'll be on my second retirement, so I'm not looking to move again. I've moved, I think, from the time I got out of the military and we moved here, I think I moved 23 times in 28 years, I think, because I've been here 12 years. 23 times in 28 years. That's a lot of moving, Jack. So I was going to put modern headlights on this thing because I do have a sheet of decals I bought at Tato's, I believe it was. But I thought, I'm just going to use the old school, NASCAR runs throwback cars all the time. So I measured it out and I said, hey, this is going to work. The only thing I'm not happy about is how the front sponsor sticker is laid over the top. And I looked closely at the photographs, and sponsor stickers did not overlay the white skirt on the front. So I just laid it the way it laid, and it is what it is. But like I said, overall I'm almost done with it. I'm extremely happy with it. I don't know what I'm doing off screen here. Don't recall this. I've been working on this video for a couple of weeks, and I'm trying to recall when the last one came out. Oh, I see what I was doing. Bourbon makes everything better, kids. So, obviously I'm having a little sip there, and I'm figuring out how do I want to cut this. So I thought about trying to slap it all on in one fell swoop. Now, see that little Oldsmobile emblem right there on the bottom I'm cutting out? That's the one I was mentioning earlier. It ticked me off. And I was excited to put it on because that's the only part of color that's on the white front spoiler. Or front, skirt. But luckily, the guy had it labeled as an Oldsmobile, so the one I ended up putting on it is just a little larger. Maybe that bourbon contributed to me wrapping that thing over, although that was my first one. So maybe not, I don't know. You see the scratches on my hand. I gotta quit playing with my puppy. I got a puppy, monster. I've got to stop. He jumped up on the bed and I was wrestling with him the other night. His claws are like something from Nosferatu. He ripped into my arm. I had to get an actual little, break out the first aid kit and tape it up. So I'm just continuing to work on this. I see in the background there, you can see the windscreen that I pulled out. I've already detailed that out. It looks sloppy, but once it goes in, it's a lot cleaner. Well, like the old saying goes, measure twice, cut once. So that's what I'm doing here. And overall, the front of it looks really nice. I'll be sure to show you a picture on down the road here. Maybe I'll just take a photograph and use that as my screen or my thumbnail. I think it's about time to get some new scissors. These scissors, I've had them a couple years. Somebody in the hobby turned me on to them. Chuck it in the water and set it aside. So the weather out here has finally turned. Had a stretch of warm days. We need the rain. We are a little under. Yeah, that's that little break right there was when I was screwing around with the little decal that flapped over, and I'm sure I'd curse like Yosemite Sam during that time. So I think, yeah, this is the, nope. That's the one that screwed up. See how it's flipped over? I cut this short. And I literally worked on this thing, like I said, 30, 45 minutes, and this thing just would not straighten itself out. It was so daggone frustrating. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, I tried everything. I put it back in the water. I put it on my finger. I added a little dishwashing soap that was diluted. This was one of the worst, rollovers on the decal I've ever had. I just couldn't get it straight. And finally, I just gave up. That's why it's taken me a while to get this video on. So yeah, I pretty much gave up. And that was after, like I said, 30, 45 minutes. So there's the old school front, I guess you'd call it grill and the accoutrements and the Oldsmobile sign. And I did notice for some reason when I put the clear coat on it, the initial clear coat of the pledge, it did crackle. You can see it a little bit in the paint. But that's easily remedied. You just throw a couple more coats on it, fills in the gaps. So, I'll probably throw some, I may throw some X22 or X23 on this. X22. I may do that. I don't know. At least on the green areas because it's a white snot paint. So I might do that or on the hood. Probably do that. So here's what would equate to the lights on this throwback Oldsmobile on a modern stocker body. So we're getting toward the end of this video. I think it's around a 15-minute video. So we've got about 2 minutes left, and I'll shut up and you'll be able to learn a little bit about handsome Harry Gant. Well, the weekend's upon us. He is risen. Easter. And what's a holiday after that? Memorial Day. I have an individual I served with in the military, and I usually put on my Facebook page every year. He was volunteered to go back to Iraq. He was in Baghdad in the Green Zone, training up Iraqi, the new Iraqi regime soldiers. And he was running on a treadmill, and they launched the rocket attack. He and a couple others died. I think a major and a captain. In addition to him, I knew him at the Pentagon. Real good guy. It's a shame, it really is. He was Stephen K. Scott. I'll throw a link out around Memorial Day. We'll talk about him a little bit.
let's travel up to Taylorsville, North Carolina, and get to know handsome Harry Gant a little bit better. Born in January of 1940, Harry Gant had a very influential first few years of his life. His father was in the Navy, so he lived with his grandma for most of his childhood. During the war years, his family, like every other family at the time, learned how to make the most out of their wartime rations. They stretched every meal and every tool to the absolute limits. Though these were his formative years, that mindset left a huge impression on him, and he never really did unlearn it. When the war was over, production of commercial vehicles resumed, and all those old beat-up coupes of the early 40s were bought up by GIs with nothing better to do on the weekends than go racing. Gant described Main Street of Taylorsville being inundated with race cars. Back then, stock cars really were stock, so guys would just drive them back and forth from the racetrack over in Hickory and back into town. He said it seemed like every single person in the town had a race car, and he knew immediately that was the only thing he wanted to do in life. By the time he was old enough to hold down a job, he and some buddies pulled together their money and built a hobby stock to race over at Hickory Motor Speedway. For his number, Harry Gant chose 77, in honor of a neighbor of his that used to street race on dirt roads around his house in a 37 Ford Coupe. He even painted the car the same, solid red with gold numbers. In 1962, the 22-year-old set off racing in the hobby stock division at Hickory, just like his idols did, and he immediately found success. By 1965, he had the Hobby Stock Championship and set his eyes on the NASCAR Late Model Sportsman Division, the precursor to the Xfinity Series today. Back then, the Sportsman Division was a southeastern regional series that mostly regulated itself to dirt and paved short tracks, with a few ventures onto bigger tracks. But the field of guys back then was stacked. Ralph Earnhardt, Ned Setzer, Tommy Houston, and Morgan Shepherd, just to name a few. If Harry was to move up to the top division, he was going to have to beat local living legends, and he did. He won the Hickory Track Championship in 1969 and finished second in the Sportsman Series title race, and then rattled off 3 Sportsman titles in a row from 1972 to 1974. And as luck would have it, while he was pulling off these heroics, another NASCAR legend had gotten into the track ownership game. Two-time Cup Series champion Ned Jarrett had retired at the end of the '66 season and bought Hickory Motor Speedway. So while Harry Gant was winning all these races, the man handing him the trophies and the checks had deep ties with lots of people in NASCAR. When longtime car owner Junie Donlevy told Ned that he had an open ride for a Winston Cup race at Charlotte in 1973, well, Ned knew just the right man to call. Harry Gant was tapped for the race and met up with the team to do some testing sessions first. They unload at Charlotte Motor Speedway and Junie tells Harry, just go out there, feel it out, shake it down, give us one flying lap so we can do a spark plug check. Harry says, all right, you got it, and straps up. His sportsman car motor usually wound up to about 8,000 RPM, so Harry just assumed the big 429 cubic inch Cup car motor could do even better. He ran about 5 laps puttering around at 7,000 RPM and then floored it for the flying lap, but was disappointed to find out that he could only get another 200 RPM out of it. Harry didn't realize that a motor that big is meant to top out at 7,000. He was literally pushing the motor to its absolute limits. If he had done 8,000, he would have blown the motor. He brings it into the pits and some of the crew members look kind of worried. Junie simply walks over silently, folds his arms over the roof of the car, shakes his head and says, well, Harry, when you shake it down, you certainly do shake it down. But Harry still got the job, qualified 17th of 41 starters and finished 11th. Not too bad for a 33-year-old making his first top division start. He dabbled in a few more races with varying results, but to his credit, he always finished the race and brought the car home in one piece. At a time when parts would seemingly break on a whim, he was always taking care of his equipment. In 1979, he sets out on his first full-time campaign, racing for Race Hill Farms in the number 47.